Here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
Hey guys, thought I might crash your little watch party.
I have a question that is the mother of all our questions as a fandom. When will you release the Snyder Cut?
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. It's a hard question. I don't know. What do you think, Henry?
I reckon you should show it.
We're doing it. So get ready.
Oh my god.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to this inaugural podcast episode of the Mary and Blake Show. My name is Mary Larson.
My name's Blake, and we are here to talk about the Snyder Cut. This is a big freaking deal. I mean, a massive deal in the movie universe. And we thought, what a great way to ring in everything that is the Mary and Blake Show, this brand new kind of experiment that we're doing. And what a way to start it than to talk about the Snyder Cut. It's like a unicorn. It's like a real thing. So for those of you who don't know what the Snyder Cut is, or Justice League, or any of that stuff, Justice League is the equivalent for DC to that of the Avengers in Marvel.
Yes. And it's the characters of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman,
Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash.
Okay. All right.
So before we get into this whole thing, by the way, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and we're having some comments here. So please do comment. Please do have a conversation with us. This is just as much about you guys as it is us. Unlike our normal podcasts that we do, where it's just a fly in the wall experience, this one is really for you guys.
Yes.
And it's to interact with you and everything. So Maureen says, cute outfits, guys.
Yay. Thanks. So the idea behind the Mary and Blake Show is that, of course, we have podcasts about specific television shows or movies that we care about or book series, but there's a bunch of other stuff that we talk about, or we have been sometimes doing just as random Facebook Lives. And we thought, why not make this its own show? It doesn't necessarily have a schedule. But it is going to be about things that generally it's what Blake and I talk about at 10:30 at night, where he's like, I've got to talk with you about something that's blowing my mind in the DC universe. And I'll be real with you. I have not been the hugest fan of the DC universe.
Yeah, so let's before we get into this whole thing and we start talking about what the Snyder Cut is and whatever, let's do this. Mary, we've already established it. This is a thing about DC. This is Superman, Batman.
What does DC even stand for?
It doesn't matter. In the comic
it stands
book
for
world,
don't care.
Yeah, in the comic book world, there are two major players. There are, DC and Marvel. Now, Marvel is really important because that is Iron Man, the MCU. It's Iron Man, Thor, all of that stuff. And Marvel Studios was the group that came out with Iron Man back in 2008, and they decided to run this really cool experiment. What we're going to do is we're going to make a really good movie first, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make a whole universe around it, and it's going to be like these episodes of television, but major motion picture films. I mean, like a really big deal.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. All right, I'm not gonna lie. I'm confused
That's
about
okay.
this.
No problem.
So all of these movies came out, and this is part of the series that bothers me a lot. Like, there's been so many Batmans.
Yes.
That I can't even handle it. They got to stop making new Batmans.
Well, so let's do this.
Okay.
Before we get into the DC universe, let's just explain what Marvel did. Marvel created a
Marvel, which is different than DC.
Yeah, Marvel created a multi-billion
It's like
dollar
Red
business.
Sox, Yankees.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And
do you want me to touch anything on this, by the way? Because I know it's going to bother you.
Yes. So you're probably going to have to restart the app, which is the Epic Cam. So Mary is fixing one of our cameras right now. So I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. So Marvel, there we go, perfect. Although you're probably going to have to zoom in on me again. and it's not up again. So, so Marvel created this multi-billion-dollar universe, and it was a really big deal. It was a really, really, really big deal, and everybody decided they wanted to get in on. Yeah. There we go. Everybody decided they wanted to get in on the fun. They wanted to make as much money as Marvel was making. So what they did was, Marvel Studios is the one who runs the MCU. You had Universal get in on the game by making the Monsters universe, the Invisible Man and everything. And you saw that movie with Tom Cruise come out called The Mummy.
With Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Oh God, yeah.
That was supposed to kick off a whole huge universe.
I didn't watch the Tom Cruise Mummy.
Well, it failed miserably because they
I
jumped
watched
in.
the original Mummy.
Right, with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was great.
They remade that, but with Tom Cruise?
They remade The Mummy, but with Tom Cruise. And what they decided was...
This is the DC people?
Yes.
Bless
Well,
their
no,
hearts.
it's not DC. This is Universal. So they decided, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to make it with a Monsters universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it bombed. And Johnny Depp was going to be in it. Javier Bardem was going to be in it.
Oh, my goodness. Keep
And
going.
it bombed. So, not only that, we have this thing with Warner Brothers. Now, Warner Brothers is a huge studio that owns the rights to Harry Potter. It owns the rights to all these huge things. The Matrix. And Warner Brothers was like, well, we own the rights to DC. We're the ones who are putting out all these great Batman films with Christopher Nolan. Mm-hmm. We're the ones who are putting out all these great things for Superman in years past. Let's make our own universe and compete with Marvel.
Okay.
We want to get in on the game too.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, right? What they didn't realize was...
I'm going to keep fixing this.
Okay, yeah. What they didn't realize was you can't just jump into it. And you can't just say, okay, here's our team up, and we're going to make as much money as Marvel, because Marvel did it right. They made a good movie, and then they connected it to a universe, as opposed to making a universe and then making a movie right after that, with the idea of making a universe. They didn't do that. So what happened was Christopher Nolan was the guy who directed all the Batman films with Christian Bale.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to him, DC, and Warner Brothers, and they said, listen, we need you guys to help us out. We need you to help us out and get our own little world established.
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
DC went to Christopher Nolan and said this.
Yes. And they actually went to go pay Christian Bale a boatload of money to be Batman in their new universe.
Okay.
But Christopher Nolan said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll produce it, but I'm not going to direct it. And Christian Bale is not going to be Batman. We're going to start a whole new thing.
Even though Christian Bale was an amazing Batman.
Correct. So they went to Nolan.
Did Christian Bale say no thank you?
Yeah. He turned them down.
Okay.
And so Nolan went to Warner Brothers and said, listen, guys, I know who I want to direct this new Superman movie, the one that you want to use as an experiment to start off your whole brand new universe. It's going to be Zack Snyder. And Zack Snyder was famous because he had directed the movie 300. He had directed a whole bunch of other films, a Watchmen, as a matter of fact. And he thought that he had the tone for the DC universe was real and gritty and just almost dour. And Zack Snyder is a great visual, beautiful filmmaker. Like he is like a better Michael Bay. So what they did is they did this and they make Man of Steel. Man of Steel makes a ton of money. And they're like, oh my God, this is going to work.
Being this Superman movie
with Henry Cavill,
who is so hot.
So what they
Loved him in The Tudors.
He is a good looking man.
He sure is.
So then they did Batman vs Superman.
And was his dad Kevin Costner?
Yes.
Once again, they've done less Superman versions than Batman versions.
Yes. So then they did Batman vs Superman as the sequel to Man of Steel,
which I didn't even watch because I think I fell asleep halfway through.
You watched it with me, and that was with Ben Affleck as Batman. Yeah. Okay, great. And then
I don't like Ben Affleck.
Zack Snyder directed that film, and they figured, oh my God, Batman vs Superman is going to be freaking amazing. We're going to make a ton of money. Let's get Zack in on Justice League right now, before Batman vs Superman even comes out. Let's get him in right now. Let's do it. So they start making the Justice League before Batman vs Superman comes out. And
they're just like, we think that we're going to be rolling in the money just like the Avengers is.
Batman vs Superman comes out. and it gets terrible reviews,
Yeah.
and
great.
everything goes bonkers. Everything. So I want to give that little bit of history before we get into this. Before we get into the next
Where
part
was
of the
Wonder
conversation.
Woman in this? Because that was really good.
Wonder Woman was really good, as was Aquaman. So
I didn't even watch Aquaman.
No, you did not watch Aquaman. I did.
I
And
will.
So Mary, so we're getting into this now, so let's just talk about it. Where are you in terms of the DC universe and comic book movies? And you are not a comic book nerd like me,
No, I'm not.
but where do you stand with all that? And what's your experience with the DC films?
Okay, so I loved the Christian Bale Batman. Batman is, out of all of the superheroes, all of them, Batman's my favorite because he is, he's like Tony Stark, but less of a jerk, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
he's more of a hermit.
And more damaged.
Yes, yes. So, like, gets there on his own. He doesn't have any superhuman powers. He does it all by his brains. So I've always been a Batman fan. And back in the 90s when weren't they going through like a whole bunch of different Batmans back then even?
Yes.
So I really did. I loved the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Batman. And then they came out with the Henry Cavill Superman, and I'm a huge fan of Henry Cavill.
Mhm.
I love that he was Kevin Costner's kid, so I was down with that. And then the redhead who is in all the movies, wasn't she the love
Amy
interest?
Adams. She plays
Amy
Lois
Adams
Lane.
was Lois Lane. I mean, I love Amy Adams, but I didn't love her as Lois Lane. I'm just putting it out there.
Okay. Fair.
Amy Adams singing in a movie like Enchanted or doing the Muppet movie, all about it. I can't take Amy Adams as Lois Lane seriously because you know what it was? You know the ultimate Superman and Lois Lane? It was Clark and Lois and Clark.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got
With Terry Hatcher.
Yep.
Like
and Dean
those,
Cain.
yeah, those were the ultimate. Like, you set that bar high, and I see Lois Lane as Terry Hatcher,
Right.
not Amy Adams. But anyway, I enjoyed the Superman movie, and then the Batman versus Superman, Ben Affleck.
I liked him. I thought he was good.
Listen, I can't get over the fact that he cheated on Jennifer Garner with
That's
their
true.
nanny.
That's true.
And I can never forgive him.
I would
So
agree.
if he's not in a schmucky role,
Schmucky.
like I just can't anymore with him. Like, if it's a role that I've seen him in before, if it is Good Will Hunting, if it's a movie that I've known him in before, I'm fine. You are not my Batman. Batman is my favorite.
And he's Christian Bale.
I mean, honestly, he could be a whole bunch of people. He could
Right.
be
He could be Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. He can't be Ben Affleck. So when I heard that
Definitely
Ben
not
Affleck,
George Clooney.
I mean, he did a good try.
No, I'm out on
He
the
did a
bat
good try.
nipples in George Clooney.
The bat nipples.
Oh yeah.
Does
George
this one
Clooney.
have bat
No,
nipples?
he does not have nipples.
Oh, okay, I'm
George
glad.
Clooney's Batman had nipples on his suit.
No, God.
that is not
Which
a joke.
one was the one that had Jim Carrey as the Riddler? I liked that one.
That was Val Kilmer as Batman.
Yeah, I liked that. Even though I'm not a huge Val Kilmer fan,
Yeah.
I liked that iteration too.
Batman
So
forever.
anyway, the Batman versus Superman, I honestly don't even remember it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure I fell asleep. I'm pretty sure someone died.
Yes.
Okay. Think it was Superman, which is probably why I didn't even like the movie even more, because he's the one that should live, because it's Henry Cavill. Okay. I don't have a problem with Henry Cavill. So then, when it comes to comic book superhero things, I've watched all the Marvel movies.
Yes.
I've enjoyed several of them.
Yes.
I think that they've gotten a little crazy. Okay. They've gotten a little greedy, and they've gone a little insane with how many they've made, but whatever. I can't keep it all straight. It's not my favorite universe in the entire world to get completely lost in. And that being said, I like DC less.
Yes.
Then Wonder Woman came along, and I was like, yes. Who run the world? Girls.
So this is a big deal, and let me explain what the Snyder Cut is, since we've already established Mary's take on DC, and I'm a big
Once
DC
again,
nerd.
don't care.
I grew up loving when
That's what I'm gonna say that DC stands
when
for.
Superman died in the comics back in '92 or '93 or what, I think it might have been '93.
Oh, so you actually bought comics and read them?
Oh yeah, no, I cried. As a matter of fact, I still have one of the comics that is unwrapped. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. It's still wrapped in the black sheath that it came when Superman died. It was a big deal. I cried, and I was a big Batman
Didn't
kid.
even know. I didn't even know
Oh,
that
that's
was
okay.
a thing.
Hey, it happens. You learn something new about me every
do.
day. Every day.
do.
We've married 10 years, and she's still learning about me. So we've established that. We've established my sitting with the DC Universe. I'm a big DC Universe fan. There have been a number of DCEU, which is the DC Expanded Universe
Okay.
films, including Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League, the Suicide Squad. I'm sorry,
Didn't watch
Suicide
that.
Squad. You didn't watch that. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam.
I loved Shazam.
you did.
Hold on. That might be my favorite out of the DC universe.
That's true. And
I
the
did
latest
enjoy that
one that you have not watched, and honestly, I have not watched yet either, which I'm looking to remedy very soon, is Birds of Prey, with the one with
the blonde
Harley
with
Quinn,
the pink and blue.
Margot Robbie and everything.
Okay.
So,
The blonde with the pink and
Yeah.
blue. Okay.
so
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I know.
here's the thing about the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder was making a whole series of films, and he intended on Justice League to be either 2 or 3 parts.
Okay.
And
The Justice League meaning getting
yeah,
everybody together.
getting everybody together.
I don't
and
see Shazam in there.
well, this is before Shazam was introduced.
Oh.
So he wanted to get all of these people up there. Aquaman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Superman, The Flash together.
Who the heck is Cyborg?
He's in between Wonder Woman and Superman.
Yeah, but like, did he have a movie?
No. He was introduced in Batman vs Superman, and then fleshed out in this.
Justice
and this
League.
is the issue,
Okay.
because what happened was Zack Snyder is making the Justice League. They get all the bad reviews about Batman vs Superman, and they're saying that it's too dour, it's too real, it's too serious. Marvel is so much fun. Marvel
They're
is making all this money.
joking. They're eating
Yeah.
shawarmas. Thor
and
gets
DC
fat.
DC is not that.
yeah.
DC is the opposite. of
Marvel
that.
went like, let's just have fun.
Yes, right.
Let's just improv and have fun.
And DC is very serious, like overly serious. And they thought that's the reason why people don't like it. It's overly serious. It's too
Emo.
much. It's emo. So then there was tragedy that struck right around the same time. Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide.
Oh goodness.
And the official story is that Zack, the director, left mid-production
Of the Justice
of
League.
Justice League because
Okay.
his daughter committed suicide.
Yes.
The unofficial story is that they at Warner Brothers were unhappy with Snyder and his vision.
Oh my God! Can
And
you
they kicked him out.
imagine losing your daughter and your job at
Yeah,
the same,
at the same time.
Bless
And
him.
what happened was they went into panic mode,
Obviously.
and Snyder had filmed probably 80% of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And with intent, like with this is what
clear
we're doing
vision,
with a clear
yes.
vision, and then it's going to be like a 3-hour film, and then it's going to lead to the next Justice League.
Part 2. Okay.
Warner Brothers realized this may not be the best idea because we're not making as much money as we thought we would. This is
We're not
blown up.
Marvel. Yeah.
This is not blown up the way that we thought it would. By the way, Batman vs Superman made like $800 million, but because of all the bad reviews, Warner Brothers was shaken.
Okay.
And so they're like, okay, what do we do? They went to Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is the guy who directed The Avengers and The Avengers Age of Ultron.
Hold up. They literally got the guy who directed the final movie of the Avengers. It was
the first Avengers,
Yeah.
first Avengers film.
Yeah.
And then the second Avengers film.
and said, "Hey, can you do for us what you just did for Marvel?"
Exactly. And what he did was he did just that.
Oh,
he
dear.
gave it the Joss Whedon touch. He reshot a whole ton of scenes. He wrote 80 pages of new script for it.
Okay.
And he got the film down to 2 hours, which was a mandate from Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Instead of it following the tone that was set before that Snyder had set,
Emo.
he went with a more jokey, fun Justice League.
Yes.
Not only that, it was more colorful. The Superman was bright blue and like bright reds, and Batman was gray and it was just colorful and not what Zack Snyder had created.
Okay.
So within the first week of Justice League airing,
Being out in movie theaters.
being out in the movie
Okay.
theaters, rumors had come out that there was, in fact, this thing called the Snyder Cut.
Okay.
That Zack Snyder had filmed all his stuff, and there still needed to be some things added to it, but there was a whole cut of the film that Snyder had intended, that Joss Whedon had done his job, by the way, did what he was
Yes.
told to do, and saved that film,
Yes.
put it out into the world, and then the rumors started, and everybody started saying, release the Snyder Cut. Release the Snyder Cut. And there was huge debates on whether or not the Snyder Cut actually existed.
So this is like one of those things, like the change.org, like what people did for the end of Game of Thrones, where they were like, rewrite the last season of Game of Thrones because we hated the finale or whatever. Like
Right.
this is fan outcry that said, we already know that everything was filmed by the original person.
Yes.
We want to see that.
There would be like it would be like if Game of Thrones, it was rumored, or it was more than rumored. It would be like if Game of Thrones had 2 new showrunners halfway through season 8,
Okay.
and Dave and the Double D's filmed their original ending, but they
Mhm.
brought in new showrunners to actually write a whole nother ending.
Okay.
You saw the whole other ending, and you were like unhappy with it, and you were like,
Mhm.
I want to see the
The
Double D
original.
cut.
Yes. Okay.
That's what it would be like. And
So how did this come about? Like, how did people voice their
well,
concerns?
it became a thing on Twitter, on social media. People bought billboards for Times Square. People bought.
Hold up.
Oh yeah.
That is so expensive.
Oh yeah. It's at least $40,000, $50,000 a month.
People pitched in to have a billboard at Times Square saying, please release the Snyder Cut.
And not only that, people bought
What?
an airplane banner to go over Comic-Con.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God. How did we not see that?
I don't know. Well, not New York Comic-Con. It was San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, okay.
They ran a plane across San Diego Comic-Con saying, release the Snyder Cut. And the funny thing is that Zack Snyder never said, no, guys, no. Like, he never stoked it, but he
whose
never,
property is it?
well, it's property of Warner Brothers.
Okay.
But Snyder never said, guys, it doesn't exist. He just stayed quiet on the whole thing. He never said,
Interesting.
this isn't real. He never said anything. And there was just rumors, and it was just people talking, fans like you and me, talking about the Snyder
What
Cut.
if? Yeah.
And it was this myth. It was this thing like, oh, I'd give anything to see the Snyder Cut. This is a big deal.
Like buy a billboard in Times
Yeah, I
Square
wanna see
instead
the
of
original-
saving from a house.
I want to see the original vision that Zack Snyder had for the Justice League, because what we got that was officially released by Warner Brothers was Frankenstein's monster. At best, Frankenstein's monster. At worst, was a very forgettable.
Is this what happened to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker too?
There are unconfirmed rumors of that is what happened to Rise of Skywalker.
Oh my
well.
God. So could we buy a banner?
Yes, and there's actually already been
I'm
a
not
movement
doing it. No
called
way.
Release the JJ Cut.
It was JJ's cut.
No, it was Disney's cut.
Oh.
And there is a supposedly tons of film footage that JJ had shot that Disney put
Oh,
the
you know
kibosh
Disney
on.
Plus. Once this goes over, you know that Disney Plus is going to be like, all right, fine.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I'm not sure about
Okay,
that.
so
I
so a
don't
lot of people fought, or
So-
not fought, but begged for
beg for this.
the Zack Snyder cut.
Right. And then finally, was it last year? Might have been last year, where it became overwhelming on Twitter and
Because I've
on-
never even watched. Yeah, I haven't watched Aquaman. I
No.
haven't watched the Justice League.
No, you have watched Justice League with me.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
I don't know these people.
Yes, you do. We
Blake,
watched it.
I fell asleep.
Actually, do you remember when we did it?
No.
We did it when I explained to you the whole mustache thing, and we remember it came out on HBO that
That's
day.
when
We
we
watched
watched
it that day.
Spider-Man.
No, we did watch Spider-Man, but we watched Justice League the day that it came out on HBO Go,
I do not know these people.
And
Like I
that's-
don't know these two guys.
and that's the issue that you have. Justice League was an entirely forgettable movie.
Wait, for real? I watched it and stayed awake?
Yep.
Blake.
Yeah, you did. You did. You absolutely did. Remember they bring Superman back to life?
Doesn't Wonder Woman save the day?
Wonder Woman does come in. She helps bring Superman back to life. Remember they fight in Heroes Park,
No.
and
Was
then
there an airplane? I don't really remember.
So Mary has seen it, ladies and gentlemen. At any rate, here's the deal.
I think I need to watch it again.
Last year, we will watch it again. Last year, it became overwhelming on Twitter and on social media. And even this film's stars came out and said, release the Snyder Cut. Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman. They all came out saying, dude, I've seen the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
It's badass. Like, it's incredible.
It's really good.
Release it. Just go ahead and release it. And
I'm trying to fix this for you, Blake.
I know. Eventually, word got to Warner Brothers. And Toby Emmerich, who is the guy who is the chairman of Warner Brothers Pictures.
Yeah.
Just recently, I'd say in February, called up Zack Snyder and said, listen, people really want this thing.
This thing that we didn't want.
Yeah, people really want it. There's a
People
real
want it.
thirst for it. And in the back of Emmerich's mind, he knows that he's coming out with his own streaming platform, which is HBO Max.
Now, there's already HBO Go
Correct.
and HBO Now, and HBO that you watch on TV in real time.
Correct.
But they're going to have another
HBO
app?
Max is basically their version of Netflix or their version of Disney Plus.
Okay.
So anybody can subscribe to HBO Max, and they will get all of Warner Brothers and HBO catalog.
So the Warner Brothers catalog goes on this.
Correct, because Warner
Okay.
Brothers owns HBO.
Okay.
So all of Warner, The Matrix, Harry Potter, all of it will go on HBO
Gonna
Max.
have a home.
It's going to have a home.
Okay.
So he knows in the back of his brain, I got HBO Max coming, and I have to give people a reason to subscribe. I have to.
I mean, think about it. Disney Plus had its own thing going on. It had
Yep.
Frozen 2 coming on, but it had The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it had a whole bunch of other stuff. Some of it was garbage. Some of it was good. Like for the most part, The Mandalorian was an acceptable television show. We didn't particularly like it, but everybody loved it. So it was a draw.
I loved the Baby Yoda. I
Yeah,
loved the
yeah.
child.
So they needed a draw, and
Warner Brothers needs a
Warner
draw.
Brothers
HBO
needed a draw.
Max. Okay, that's what it's called,
for
yeah.
HBO Max. So they get in touch with Snyder and they say, "There's a thirst for this. Is this possible?" And Snyder has the whole film on a drive in his house, just there, and he's like, "Sure." So he puts together what he has in black and white, which is why this is black and white,
Why does he put it together in black and white?
because that was how he did it.
Just to be more emo.
Yeah,
Okay.
he puts it together in black and white, and he shows everything that he has. And Toby Emmerich, Zack Snyder, Deborah Snyder, who's his wife and producing partner, people from HBO, and visual
Who does he
effects
watch it
teams,
with? Like
with
in
all
real
of
life?
these people.
Or is this
In real life, he invites them to their house before the coronavirus blows up.
okay?
They're in his house in his own home theater, and they have a big meeting, and everyone sees the footage, and they say, "Okay, what is possible?" And they said, "We could finish this film. We might have to bring people back. We might have to bring some people back for ADR and like
ADR
meaning like
voiceover.
voiceovers,
Okay.
and fixing some lines here and there. We're gonna have to redo all the visual effects, and most importantly, we're gonna have to rescore the film."
The music aspect, they're going to rescore.
All the music. Yes. And all of this is going to cost between $25 and $30 million.
Oh my gosh. For a movie that's pretty much 80% shot, but they want to bring it to life.
Mm-hmm.
$20 to $30 million.
Yep. To just finish this film. on a film that they've already spent at least $500 million on, just to give it to the public and put it on HBO Max. That's what they're doing.
Oh my goodness.
So they have this meeting, and everybody comes away pretty positively. And all of the fans are saying, "Release the Snyder Cut, release this." And Snyder has been giving, since this time, little hints, little tidbits, little tips that something is happening, but he was never quite 100%. It was always a myth. Like I said, this is like a unicorn. This is something that, like, it's like Atlantis. You're pretty sure it existed, but you're never gonna see it. You know it's never gonna be a big deal. You know it's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Just feels fun to ask for it.
and all of a sudden he has this showing of Man of Steel. Henry Cavill shows up and he says, "Guess what, guys? Snyder Cut's coming out. And not only is it coming out, it's coming out in 2021. I'm working on it right now. It's going to happen.
So what was that Zoom link thing that we saw in the beginning of this video?
Yep.
What was that about?
That was the viewing party of Man of Steel that he had at his own house, where he was sitting. That's his own home theater, where he had the meeting with all the executives.
But who are all these other people on the Zoom call?
Just fans.
He just said, whoever wants to watch Man of Steel with me, you can.
Whoever the first 20 people were who joined the Zoom call can come in and watch it with me. And he did. And Henry Cavill shows up, and they make the announcement. Guess what? The Snyder Cut's coming out. So
mind blown.
What's going to happen is they're going to redo this film. They're going to put it on HBO Max. They're going to change all these scenes. And Mary, one of the big things we've already mentioned here is the score of the film. And the score of the film is a very big deal. And why is it a big deal? And Mary, you actually already know this. It's because they changed the composers.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I know this. I do. Okay, so Hans Zimmer was originally doing the DC...
The DC universe. And with one of his writing partners, Junkie XL. They like Hans Zimmer wrote the latest Superman theme. He wrote the latest Batman theme. He wrote the Wonder Woman theme. He wrote all of these themes. And then in Justice League,
when they switched it with Joss Whedon
switches the
composer.
composers. And he switches to Danny Elfman,
who also is fantastic.
Who also worked on the Avengers with him.
Oh, okay.
And Danny Elfman had like a quarter of the amount of time to write the score for Justice League that you would normally have. The problem was he didn't want to use any of the stuff that Hans Zimmer used because he wanted to have his own score.
His own thing, exactly.
So you know what he did?
What?
He included his original Batman theme that he wrote from Michael Keaton.
Get out.
And he included the John Williams Superman theme that was written.
Do Danny Elfman and Hans Zimmer not like each other? Like,
it
why would he
feels
include John Williams and then himself? Like, why would he include John Williams but not Hans Zimmer?
Because he didn't have enough time to make it all mesh together, and one
but
of
like
the things
Hans
that he
Zimmer
said
created the Wonder Woman theme, for example.
One of the things that he said was, everybody feels like you have to change themes when you're writing these new characters. He's like, but I don't believe that. I believe a theme sticks with a character. So the original Batman theme that I wrote, it should stick with him forever. You don't change the James Bond theme just because there's new actors.
Good point.
It should stick with him.
Yeah.
So I think he got pissed off that everybody was making these new themes, especially Hans Zimmer.
With the Batman, with the Christian Bale theme.
Which, by the way, in my estimation, is better than Danny Elfman's theme.
I would agree. Agree.
And it kills me to say that, but it's true.
But the John Williams theme for Superman
is like stunningly awesome.
Yes.
But the Hans Zimmer theme is equally as awesome, just in a different way.
Agreed.
It's a very like piano and like acoustic feel, high drums. Like
I will always think of the John Williams.
It's just it's not as much fanfare.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So they threw together this quick Justice League with a different director, threw in Danny Elfman, fantastic composer, but said, here you go, have fun. By the way, do it quickly. And he said, all right, I'm going to make it my own and take out all this Hans Zimmer stuff.
Change the
so
whole
now
tone.
here's Zack Snyder, and he's got all of these fans behind him, and now he has HBO Max saying, we're going to pay to fix this.
Right.
And we can afford magically Hans Zimmer to score it again. Hans Zimmer is so expensive and has a boatload of stuff on his plate to do.
And,
wow.
and Hans Zimmer said he is officially retired from doing superhero films. He doesn't want to do them anymore.
Oh, well, except when it's the Justice League 2.0.
Except when Justice League comes back and says, we want you to do this. And he and Junkie XL are coming back to rescore this entire film.
I mean, but of course he would want to now because he has created themes for all of these characters, so why not?
So there's this whole thing where there was a bunch of scenes that was left out of Justice League.
The one that came out in the movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like explaining who Cyborg is.
Yeah.
And like they explained it. They tell you like that he got in a car accident with his mom and his dad. And his dad, like the mother dies. The Ray Fisher, who is his real name as Cyborg, Ray gets totally hurt and they have to like cut off arms and legs,
goodness.
and he makes him a robot
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah.
Well, he makes him a cyborg.
Yeah.
And his dad was a scientist, and that's how they were able to do it. They explain more about the Flash, who is played by Ezra Miller. He and his father have this relationship where his father's in jail, and he's doing and
I don't care about these people.
right. But in Snyder's
I care more
vision-
about Ant-Man.
and the reason why you don't care about them is because they didn't take any time to introduce them.
So wait, is Shazam in the Zack Snyder cut? Because I care about
No.
Shazam. Why?
No, because Shazam came after Justice League. Shazam was an attempt to course correct.
Yeah.
They wanted
Shazam.
Shazam was fun. It was fun. It was it's
Shazam was the
Shazam.
Spider-Man
Yes.
that Marvel has
Right.
of like a younger, joyful, quirky, "Ooh, I'm suddenly a superhero" kind of
Correct.
perspective. Okay.
Correct. And so Shazam is that. And here's the other thing too. All of these characters are in Justice League. Well, not Shazam, but these characters are in Justice League, and they just aren't the way that it's been.
So the Flash, Batman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman,
Aquaman,
Aquaman,
Superman, and
and
Batman.
Superman. Okay.
They're all in Justice League,
Okay.
and they all essentially, Wonder Woman,
Mm-hmm.
the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg are introduced effectively in Justice League.
Okay.
And you have all of these characters vying for screen time in a 2-hour film when you should have done all the back work prior to teaming all these people up.
Just like Marvel, how each person had their own individual film or
Exactly.
films and you got to care about them. Okay, so then where was Wonder Woman in this timeline perspective?
So Wonder Woman came out right before Justice League. Wonder Woman made billions of dollars, $1 billion.
Yeah.
And everybody said, "Oh,
People like Wonder Woman.
this is a big deal."
She's a good character.
So they had to write more Wonder Woman into Justice League.
Stop. She was like
because-
downplayed in the original script of Justice
No,
League.
she wasn't downplayed, but she just didn't have as much of a role in it as before. So they were like, we have to write more to give the people what they want.
Yeah, because we love her.
So you see how these things start coming together.
So basically, the DC universe was a hot mess express. They were trying to put a puzzle together, and they were doing it too quickly. And then they had Zack Snyder leave, not only because of his daughter's death, but possibly because of
They
being
wanted
let
him
go.
out. Right.
And it just became this Mod Podge little of a film that
Right.
flopped, and because of the fans coming together saying, give us the original cut, we don't care what shape it's in, we want to see what originally was meant to be.
Correct.
It's actually happening now as the carrot to get you to sign up for HBO Max next year.
And one of the things that they're actually talking about too is either one, releasing it in its entirety, like a 4-hour film, or breaking it up
I would break it up because I'm
into
going to need to pee.
chapters. Breaking it up into chapters that will come out once a
I'm
week.
down with that. Oh, once a week.
Once a
Ooh.
week, almost like a mini series.
Mhm.
And they've already established ways to do like cliffhangers
Okay.
and to lead you to the next week. So it's like a mini series essentially.
All right.
And the cynic in me is that more than likely what will happen
Mm-hmm.
is they'll offer you a free month of HBO Max to get you to
Yes.
sign up.
Yes.
How long is a month? How many weeks?
4.
How many chapters are they looking to get Justice League?
4?
6.
Oh, smart. That's smart.
So they're going to get at least 1 month's worth of payment from you to see the remainder of the Snyder
It's brilliant. You know what I love about this is that here we are in the time of COVID-19, and we're not able to get together in our workplaces as we normally would. Obviously, the entertainment business has been shut down. You can't get together in writers' rooms or film or create new movies. So here is literally an 80% done made movie.
Mm-hmm.
The actors have all said, sure, I'll do some voiceover work. And truth be told, you can fix a lot when it comes to voiceover. So they can all do it from their homes.
Mm-hmm.
Just get out their iPhone with a good microphone in their jammies, and they can re-record some amazing lines. Hans Zimmer can score this entire film from his house, from the safety of his house. You can either have musicians record solos or whatever, but obviously his orchestration software is going to be fantastic. So even if it is done mostly as, through his computer, that's a lot of what he does anyway. So they can do this in the time of COVID-19.
Absolutely, and even beyond. Like they have plenty of time to do it. They're looking to get it out in 2021. They got time. They got nothing but time.
That's amazing. So when does HBO Max drop in 2021?
Well, I think it's coming soon. I think within the next month or so.
This is 2020.
Yeah, no. Well, Justice League is coming out in 2021. HBO Max is dropping sooner than that.
Okay.
Okay. So the Snyder Cut essentially rewrites the entire film. And the film that we got as a public, it rewrites it. It changes everything. It includes the character Darkseid, who is the equivalent to Thanos.
Okay.
All right. And it builds towards Darkseid. It makes sense of that weird nightmare sequence that we got in Batman vs Superman, with Batman getting killed by Superman and everything.
That was just a nightmare?
That was a nightmare.
Oh, I thought he really get killed.
No, he doesn't,
What?
because it's supposed to be explained in Justice League, but it wasn't.
He was dead, and they brought him back
and the
to
Flash,
life.
The Flash comes back, and he says, "You don't let Lois die. Lois is the key."
I don't care
and
about
Superman
Lois.
goes bad because Lois dies. It all gets
She
explained.
died too?
Well, in the universe that they're trying to create, yes, eventually in the future, she does die.
So
And
Zack Snyder's cut is going to make a lot more sense to me and help me remember this movie a bit
Correct.
more.
And
okay.
one of the things that I really like
If
about
anyone
it,
else has been just as lost as me, please let me know.
one of the things that I really like is that Zack Snyder has come out with all these films, whether it's Watchmen or it is Batman vs Superman or Man of Steel or whatever, and they've all came out with like kind of tepid
Reviews.
critical reviews.
Okay.
But eventually, what they do is the studios they have what's a director's cut, where it's like, okay, I know in theaters we put out this film, but we're gonna let all of the film and all of the stuff that was already made, whatever, it's in the can, it just was edited down. We're gonna put out a director's cut of the film.
Amazing.
And each time they put out a director's cut of Zack Snyder's films, whether it was Watchmen or Batman vs Superman, they were longer and much more explained, much better, like totally changed films that were like pretty
so he
extraordinary.
just likes to tell a longer story,
Right.
but due to movie theater timelines, it has to get
Correct.
cut down.
And here's the other issue that you have. The theaters can play a 3-hour film. We know that. We saw that happen with Avengers Endgame. That was a 3-hour film. But at the time, Avengers were putting out, the MCU was putting out films that were 2 to 2:10.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers is saying, well, the MCU's got it. They have the stamp down. Let's do what they do.
Let's just copy them with their
So
timeline.
they said, we need a 2-hour mandate.
Gotcha.
That's it. 2 hours, that's the film. And they screwed it up. They screwed it up big time.
Let's be real. 3 hours sitting in a movie theater, that's difficult.
For some people, for me, I could do it all day.
I need to pee because when I go to the movies, I like to get the large icy
A couple of times.
a couple of times because it has a free refill. So I go out and then I get another one because most of it's air, or so I tell myself. Then I have to pee an hour
So
and a half
let
later.
me ask you about the score bit here. Do you think it's important that they're rescoring this film, or do you think that's an unnecessary
I think
cog?
they have to. If it's
Yeah.
if it's a different story, then the music is another character within the story, so you will not be able to use it.
Right.
And Danny Elfman's vibe is generally quite different than
More
the one
whimsical.
than Zack Snyder. So I say I'm all for it. It's just Danny Elfman must feel so weird right now.
So does Joss Whedon, and the problem is he's been catching a lot of flack for this.
Why?
Because everyone's like, "Oh, you put out a crap movie."
He came in and saved the day.
He
He
saved
came
it-
in and
he
got
made it-
Frankenstein and made it
Yeah.
work.
He made it work, and of course there was the whole issue with the fake mustache and having to paint it over, and all of that will be gone.
Yeah.
All the rubber mustache will be gone.
Okay.
From Man of Steel, from Superman. I'm just happy that Hans Zimmer gets to finish his story. He gets to finish his music story with Justice League, and he's able to fix the tone of it all, because that was one of the things that really bothered me about Justice League.
Is the music
Is
felt
the music.
a different
it
universe?
felt like
Okay.
a totally different universe. It
Interesting.
felt like what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we like? What's the point here? But Mary, do you think this sets a bad precedent for film and releasing films after they've been released and putting it on streaming platforms? is this a good thing? Like, Snyder gets to tell his vision. Or is it a bad thing because now the fans can complain anytime they want and the studios
possibly-
will capitulate?
I mean, hey, if people are willing to pay, if people are willing to pay for HBO Max, if people are willing to pay for a huge banner in Times Square or a plane to go overhead begging for this, then people are willing to pay for it. And I think that people are going to have tougher hides and put their foot down if they say, no, this is what we put out. But on the flip side, HBO, Warner Brothers, the DC Universe, they're going to be making some more money. You know that all those actors are going to be throwing some money to do their voiceover work. You know that Hans Zimmer's going to be getting some more money.
All the visual
So,
effects.
I mean, if people are willing to pay, Lord knows, how many movies did the Marvel Universe make so far?
22.
Yeah. If people are willing to pay, whatevs, go for it. I do think that, if this continues, then you will have divides in fandoms.
Sure.
Like there's the Star Trek fans or the Star Wars fans, and very rarely do they cross over. You're an exception.
I'm an exception.
But so you're gonna have these people who go to Comic Cons and events like that who say like, "Are you a Snyder fan or a Joss Whedon fan? Like, which one are you?" But it creates great conversation. So I think if there's a need, if people are willing to pay for it. And especially now, this is something that can be done in the entertainment industry that does not require people being together in large groups, that they can be doing from their homes. I think that it is a perfect thing to try out right now.
Sure.
And we don't know what the situation is going to be like for movie making in the future, for television making in the future. And I think that this is an interesting way to keep those people having a job, having some semblance of an income, and having new content for us to watch. Because you and I have both said that come the fall,
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to be on TV.
There's not going to be a summer movie season.
There's not going to be a Christmas movie season.
No, there won't be. Tenet will be the movie that comes out in the summer from Christopher Nolan, and that's it, really. Maybe Mulan, but
Maybe.
that's it. So in terms of television and all this stuff, nothing is going to be happening. Everything has been delayed.
Yes.
We're
So
gonna have to
anything
wait.
that is in the can that can be reworked or edited, I say especially now, go for it.
Right.
Does it create, the ability that fans can whine and possibly get their own way? Yes. But on the flip side, if they're willing to pay for it and people want their money and don't have a problem doing it,
Yeah.
go for it. Do I feel bad for Danny Elfman and Josh Whedon? Yeah. But you know what? They can just turn off that cycle of the news and they can just take a swim in the amount of money that they got for making the original Justice League.
Right. And of course, this is not going to be released in the theaters. This is only going to be released on HBO Max. That is it. This is not. And Deborah Snyder said it. She's like, you can't put this in the theater. You can't do it because
It's not going to be of theater quality, most likely.
Well, I mean, it will, but you're right. It won't. You've already released Justice League. You can't take that risk of going out
That
to
would
all
be
the
very
theaters
rude. Yeah.
and doing all that. This is Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's what
Yes.
they're calling it. Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Wow.
And this right here, this is the official promotion. I didn't make this. This is the official. This comes
Crazy.
right from
It's
from
crazy.
Warner Brothers.
So it's interesting to see, what is happening. And as we said, this might even happen possibly for Star Wars at some point.
Oh, I don't.
I mean, Disney, once again, if this goes over well, and I think if people have difficulty, depending upon what happens with the coronavirus and if there's another uptick in the fall here in the Northern Hemisphere, depending upon what happens in the entertainment industry, I will be interested to see if more directors cut or if people start to rework things from a different perspective. I do also believe that there's going to be a heck of a lot more animated shows and movies because that is something you can once again do remotely. But when it comes to stuff like this, who knows? If Disney can make some money out of it and if it means more people are signing up for Disney Plus, I would not be surprised.
Right.
If
I mean,
they did
there's a
something like that.
possibility. I guess my last question I have for you, Mary, is this. We've talked about it. There's been a course correction in the DC universe. They've gone and made Joker, the one with Joaquin Phoenix, that is totally unrelated to the DCEU. They're making the new Batman film called The Batman with Robert
Hold on.
Pattinson.
I forgot that Robert Pattinson now is going to be a Batman. He's a good
Correct.
Batman.
I'm looking forward to this.
He is.
Matt
He's
Reeves
like mopey.
Matt Reeves is going to be the director, and he's the one who helped create Felicity, by the way,
Oh,
the
yeah.
television show.
Okay.
But he directed the War for the Planet of the Apes and all
Okay.
those films.
All right, I'm going to be down with that
He also
one.
directed
Did they already
Cloverfield.
shoot that, or is that like...
They're shooting it right now, but
No, they're
They
not.
had to stop.
Yeah.
They had to stop.
Oh, no.
Um,
Robert Pattinson's
so
going to be even more mopey.
that is completely separate
Okay.
from the DCEU.
But it's still owned by Warner
But it's still
Brothers.
owned by Warner Brothers, and it's a DC project.
They need to get some new characters.
Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman it has a sequel coming out called Wonder Woman 84.
I thought I already saw a Wonder Woman sequel.
No, you didn't.
Oh, that must have been the Justice League.
Yes. And Shazam is giving it a sequel.
Didn't she meet back up with Steve?
That's coming out. That's Wonder Woman 84.
That was a trailer?
That was a trailer.
Oh, man.
Shazam is getting a sequel with The Rock playing Black Adam.
Okay.
That's coming out. Aquaman is getting a sequel, and there's another offshoot coming off of Aquaman. What I'm saying is all of these films are still coming out. Some of them are DCEU related. Some of them are not. What is undeniable is that Snyder put together a cast that is incredible. And
Aside from Ben
Aquaman
Affleck.
made tons of money. Wonder Woman made tons of money. They were critical successes. That formula can work. By releasing the Snyder Cut, do you think that will change Warner Brothers' plans going forward for the DCEU? Will they try to get the band back together if it's really good? If it's a big fracking deal and it's like, whoa, Snyder's vision really makes sense. Do you think they go and try to make
more money
and more DCEU films that are all interconnected? Try to get Ben Affleck back as Batman.
How about Robert Pattinson? Keep him in there.
I mean, there's a possibility that they could, but I'm saying, do they continue to make movies
Oh my God.
in this vein?
I don't know. It's gonna honestly. So much of it is, as much as I hate to say, I think so much of it is reliant upon COVID-19.
Sure.
I think that this is going to be delaying all of those projects that they already have in place, the sequels, the other offshoots, and they have to see how those go.
Mm-hmm.
And so this will be hitting, home televisions next year, but that's once again a lot of people. So I think so much of it depends upon what ends up happening with the virus and what restrictions are made, because each of these people, so if you have a big cast like this,
Mm-hmm.
you have their whole entourage and their own makeup and their own costumes. So I don't know. I don't know. That's
It's
great
an interesting
question.
thought experiment about if it really is that successful, does it influence Warner Brothers' strategy going forward?
I could do without Ben Affleck. I actually, I didn't watch Aquaman. I don't like Jason Momoa after he made that comment about when he was just rude about women when he was talking about his character from Game of Thrones. I was like, yeah, I'm done with you. And so I never saw Aquaman because of that.
It was a good film too, by the way, Aquaman.
Good for him.
It was good.
Except I thought that was a schmucky comment. Isn't that terrible? But totally makes sense.
No, I understand why you feel it's a schmucky comment and you don't want to support him. I get
Yeah.
that. I don't know what comment you're talking about.
Oh, he was talking about, so his character in Game of Thrones sleeps with Daenerys Targaryen, who's
Yes.
like a young teenage girl.
Hashtag spoilers.
And I mean, it's season 1.
I know.
But he said in a press conference, because in the book, she doesn't want to be sleeping with him as a young, she's like, 12 or something. But he made some comment like, oh yeah, I love my character. Like he gets to sleep with young teenage girls or whatever.
Yeah.
He made some gross, disgusting pig comment
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, obviously, if that's the case, that's a bad comment. I don't know what it is, so I can't speak on it.
No, it was something along those lines.
Um,
And then he tried to backpedal.
I'm sure that he did. So in the end, because we're coming up at the end of our time here, is this a good idea?
Yes.
I think so too.
I think especially with the situation that Hollywood is facing right now. I think this is an exceptional idea to try out, and we're all going to see how it works. Other networks, obviously, and other production companies are going to be watching it with eagle eyes, saying, all right, do we release director's cuts in a different way? Do we make more documentaries? Like, if we have footage that people want to see, is there a way that we can reuse it, especially in a time right now where we can't be getting together making films as actively as we would have hoped?
The thing I will give Warner Brothers is that they're finally going in their own territory.
Trying
They're
something
not,
original.
Yeah, they're not just copying Marvel Studios. They're saying, screw it.
Yeah.
What do we got to lose?
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're gonna do. Like, we're gonna tread our own path, and if this makes sense for us, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I give them credit for of course, because this is a big studio. They ain't gonna do nothing unless they're making money off it.
Of course.
Ain't gonna happen. They're not doing this just for fun. They're not doing it because they're saying, oh, this is for the fans. I mean, I'm sure that it is, but it's really because they need subscribers.
Yeah.
And if this is a big deal, and if people love it, who knows where they go from here?
It's gonna be
Which is why I think it's a good idea. And it's good because I finally get to see Zack Snyder's vision.
So so HBO Max is coming out this year.
Yes.
And are all of these previous movies going to be available on HBO Max?
Yes.
So what they're hoping is that people go and they watch all of these films and get reacquainted with these characters.
Yes.
And then that way, when Zack Snyder's Cut comes out in 2021,
Yep.
they're fresh in your brain. You've been binging it on yet another paid watching,
Another
platform.
platform, yeah.
But wow, okay. So it will be interesting to watch.
Yes.
Well,
So
thanks for taking us down this route.
yeah, you're welcome. And so this will be. You're taking your Wonder Woman thing off.
Yes.
The Mary and Blake show will continue on some level. It's not scheduled. It is not something that will occur on a regular basis, but it will continue to happen. You'll be able to watch all of these either on the Mary and Blake Facebook page or on our YouTube page for Mary and Blake Media. Just look up Mary and Blake Media on YouTube, and you'll see everything. Not only that we do for the Mary and Blake show, but for Outlander Cast, for This Is Us too, for all of our other podcasts that we have going on, including Game of Thrones, Hamilton, The Crown. It will all be on the Mary and Blake YouTube page.
Awesome.
Which is excellent. So search for us on social media, Mary and Blake. Search for us if you want to get in touch with us via email. Go to just email maryandblakemedia@gmail.com, and consider becoming a patron of Mary and Blake at jointhenerds.com. That's where we're going. That's the URL for it. Jointhenerds.com. I'm sorry, jointhenerdclan.com. That's what it is. Jointhenerdclan.com.
We got to work on that.
I know. I screwed it up. Jointhenerdclan.com.
And thank you to Rebecca and Ruth. I know Kristen was here. Rebecca Ann says Friends is going to be on HBO Max too, which is going to be
the show and the reunion special of Friends. It won't be a new episode, but it'll be a reunion special.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so lots of things to look out for. We're probably going to subscribe for HBO Max just to try it out and give it a whirl. Plus,
Certainly.
Harry Potter will be there. So even though I have all the DVDs, I don't need to do it. But thank you all so much. As Blake said, we hope to be doing more Mary and Blake show episodes just about things that catch our eye and our interest that we aren't already podcasting about that can kind of be like one-off shoots. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. And thank you all so much for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you later.